of your listeners are going to become or already are, that they didn't lose their home because they already paid for their home. They had put up food. They don't worry about paying for groceries. They have their own water. They don't worry about that resource going dry on them. And they have gold that they put up, and they have an underground setup to where, like a very sophisticated root cellar, that, the water gets high, they can take their family. Like I came from, I was born in 1946 in Roswell, New Mexico, and my mother was a field worker. And in Texas, working on large farms in East Texas, everyone had massive underground root cellars to hide from tornadoes and storms, and that's also where they put their food. That is not a new crazy idea. That is an old, prudent idea that we see people have those things going forward. Have changed their lives dramatically. So now we come to this oil spill. Our economy is shot in this country. It's getting shot in Europe. The echo effect is going around the world. The tyrants and last waltz of the tyrants have taken absolute control and made everybody a slave to the monetary system and how they choose to do that. And that is not a conspiracy theory. One only has to watch Dylan Ratigan every day at my time at 1 o'clock on MSNBC to get a great lesson in understanding why the large bankers like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, all of these massive banks on Wall Street actually traded within Wall Street and world banks. And then when everything went kaput, when the pyramid scheme burst, they went to the Federal Reserve at zero money, got all the money they needed. The taxpayer bailed them out, and they're going to be asking for more. So now we see the prudency of being sovereign and being economically set up for harsh times that are coming, because the thing that's happened with the world banks is all about the last waltz of the tyrants, and it's all about who's behind controlling the world and controlling the way people are. When I heard about, I was in Italy. We had a great event in Italy, and the timing was perfect because the volcano had gone off. We were there for a week and a half. It had calmed down. We were able to get in, do the event. When it was over with, the volcano went off again. So our airports in and out where we were in Bologna were actually closed had our timing been off. But our timing was absolutely right, and we were absolutely do what we came there to do, and we were able to leave because we're transcontinental or transatlantic. I was in Italy when I heard about when the Gulf oil spill went off in the Gulf, and immediately I was going to get in my space, which I call a neighborhood walk, and I can do this really well, to help with millions of untold other people around the planet that were concerned enough to try to focus and pray and try to change the outcome. And it was interesting that when I started that, Ramtha came and said, "Don't do that." And, so why not? We're working to help the planet here. He said, "This is purposeful good. This is purposeful good, because the only thing that will get lazy, addicted people off of an antique midterm energy source, and corporations who force it into our way of life, is to allow this to happen, to get everyone woke up to see the severity of it." And that was really powerful. And he said, they're not going to stop it. And it's going to continue.
Same information
it's going to continue.
We got.
And this was in Italy. He said it will eventually make its way to the Atlantic seaboard.
Yeah, we got the same information, what our resources were saying. They said it's an oily slap in the face, which was necessary. to get people off their duff and start paying attention, and bring in the other fieldless energy technologies and anti-gravity and counter-gravity, and basically it's basically the fall of the tyrants. It's just one of a few nails in their own coffin.
Well, this was really important, not for the corporations per se, but for the people on Earth, and especially the Americans, that are lazy, addicted to their comforts, and they're really stupid politicians who defend not the John Q. public, but defend the corporations that gave to their campaign, that helped get them elected. This is for the American people. This is for Europe's going to get its own. It's going to have it in a different way. But for the American people, getting off of foreign oil isn't drilling off of our own coastlines. It is taking the bull by the horns and bringing in suppressed technologies that truly transcend solar, wind. I mean, I shudder to think about nuclear power plants because everybody says it's clean, but that's a misnomer, because there is no technology yet known today that can neutralize the spent fuel from it that is active for 100,000 years. And it just buried it, waiting, hoping an earthquake doesn't come and, contaminate the whole planet. So to me, that's not an option. And clean coal is not an option. But there are technologies that are options, and they are known. They are available. The grid just has to be built to make them accessible. Meaning that the old grid lines in America are way outdated, going back to the 40s and 50s under Eisenhower. I mean, they're outdated. But to rebuild them, to access the Earth's own natural magnetic field, in which is a source to have actually clean electricity, is an absolute. It's not a dreamland thing. It's an absolute possibility. To run a car engine on seawater, which we have plenty of, that salt water ignited very much like an internal compression of our engines that we have today with our piston compression, that it's salt water ignited in a vacuum with a spark causes an explosion. That explosion.
I've seen that.
Okay, that's a viable. Hydrogen fuel is a viable. The Earth's magnetic field is a viable. And then we're not even talking about travel, which travel is the sum total of putting together an engine that runs on liquid mercury with a rotating oh my God, my brain just went to sleep. Stabilizer in it.
We have technologies. I worked with the German biophysicist. He's got like 9 degrees, and amazing guy. And he has these devices that fit in your hand. They're about as big as a small pie plate, and has 9 coils in it. Each coil generates 25,000 watts. And it's ice cold when it operates, and if you don't put the governor on it, it takes off and it'll blow a hole through your ceiling, because it's counter-gravity as well.
Do you have one of those, James, running your house?
No.
Why?
I'll tell you why, because we tried to get this out, and I made a video of it, and I showed the machines running and everything else, and soon afterwards they came and they threatened his family, his wife, and blew his lab up. So he's kind of dismantled it and put it in several different places.
Well, okay. Well, those wonderful ideas will come about, but the most exciting for me as a midterm energy fuel is the Bloom technology out of Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's interesting.
That is amazing, and I would tell your listeners to check into it, because as soon as they come available, I'm buying several of them to run the entire school in the Pacific Northwest off of that technology. And the gas needed, any kind of gas, is actually, dig up the waste dumps that we keep burying and turn them into a gas that we can actually disperse of our waste by transcending its current form into a gas that can run bloom technology. Bloom technology, to me, is not as exotic as many other technologies that we know, you and I know and your listeners know, but even more that we don't know are available. The bloom technology is a great interim, not oil, but bloom technology is a great interim to a transition to an extraordinary and much more exotic energy that the world needs. And I think personally,